LVNV funding coming after you? Well, what if I told you that if someone other than your original creditor is pursuing you, or worse yet, suing you for debt, they need to prove that they bought your debt and that they own it at the time the legal action is filed against you. Without such proof, they really don't have a valid claim against you. That's a game changer that you can use to fight back. What I'm going to share with you is also included in my debt defense kit to help you push back against debt buyers like LVNV. See the link in comments or the link in the description of this video to learn more about that kit. I am sharing the exact strategies that you want to take to defend yourself, including how to question whether they even own the debt that they're coming after you for or suing you for. So stay tuned. This is all information LVNV does not want you to know. Well, let's start by understanding who LVNV Funding is. They are a massive debt buyer owned by Resurgent Capital Services. They don't lend money, they don't issue credit cards. Instead, they purchase, hold charged off debts, usually credit card debt, personal loans, and they purchase these for pennies on the dollar, and then they attempt to collect the full balance. So here's an example. If you owed $5,000 on a credit card that got charged off, the creditor might sell that debt to LVNV for maybe just $100. LVNV's goal is to collect the full $5,000 from you, plus interest and fees. But here's the thing. They often lack the paperwork to prove they even own your debt, and that's where you have the power to fight back. And here's some great news. More courts across the country are starting to hold debt buyers like LVNV accountable. For instance, an Ohio court recently ruled that debt buyers must provide concrete evidence that they own the specific debt they're suing over. So this means that LVNV cannot just show up with a vague bill of sale or transfer agreement. They must include detailed documentation that ties your actual account to their purchase. So why does this matter? Well, debt buyers often don't have this level of proof. When purchasing debt in bulk, they receive basic account information like names, balances, and account numbers. So this lack of documentation really gives you a strong defense if they cannot prove ownership of your account number. So if LVNV Funding is pursuing you, disputing the account is your first step, and I'm going to break it down. You want to first check your credit report. So pull your annual credit report, that is your real credit report, from Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Look for any accounts associated with LVNV Funding or a debt buyer. You want to verify the account number, the balance, the date of last payment. If anything looks wrong or if you don't recognize the account, you've got some grounds to dispute it. Then your second step is to send a debt validation letter. I like to call it a request for information letter. The Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, the FDCPA, gives you the right to request validation. So you can send LVNV a letter, and I recommend sending it certified mail, requesting a copy of the original agreement with the creditor, a full account statement, the bill of sale or transfer agreement showing that LVNV owns the debt. I mean, without these documents, how can LVNV legally collect on debt? I always recommend sending your request via certified mail with the return receipt for your records. Now, you can also email this request to LVNV. You'll have to get their email, and you want them to acknowledge the receipt of the email. Then your third step, and this is optional, dispute the account with the credit bureaus. You can file a dispute with the credit bureaus for any inaccurate or unverifiable information. In that letter, you can point out what is in error, what is wrong with the account. The credit bureaus have 30 days to investigate or remove inaccurate information or the account, or they can correct the account. So when disputing a debt, I recommend focusing on the debt collector or the debt buyer like LVNV Funding rather than the credit bureaus, because LVNV is the source of the issue. They're the ones allegedly holding the balance and instructing the credit bureaus to report the account. So by going directly to the source, we address the root cause, we demand that they prove ownership and accuracy of the debt, and if they cannot provide the required documentation, it weakens their claim to own your debt and to report your debt. So, debt buyers like LVNV rarely receive detailed account histories. Instead, they typically rely on a generic bill of sale and a spreadsheet listing basic account details. If challenged in court or during a dispute, this lack of evidence can and has led to dismissal of their claims. So here's how you build your paper trail, because documentation is going to be your friend here. Keep records of all interactions with LVNV. Save copies of any letters that you sent or received, receipts for certified mail, and just anything that you get from LVNV. A strong paper trail puts you in a better position to dispute their claim successfully. And if LVNV responds with partial documentation with your validation request, you have options. I would definitely challenge the statute of limitations. So every debt has a statute of limitations and it varies by state, but it generally ranges from 3 to 6 years. So check the date of last payment. If the debt is beyond the statute of limitations, LVNV cannot sue you. Respond with a letter stating your debt is time barred if that is truly the case. Now, you can also file a complaint with the CFPB. If LVNV continues to pursue you without proper documentation, you can file a complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They'll investigate and they may take action against LVNV. Now, you can also file a complaint with the registered agent, which I've included in that debt defense kit. They don't like it when you do that. Prepare for court if necessary. If LVNV ignores you or if they sue you, especially if they sue you, do not ignore it. You want to answer that lawsuit. You want to show up in court with your documentation. Many cases are dismissed when consumers challenge LVNV's lack of evidence. You can also take LVNV to court. You can file in small claims. You can file in state court. Armed with this information, you may decide that settling the debt may be your quickest and best option. So I'm going to talk to you about negotiating effectively when you have all of this evidence stacked against them, that they may not own your debt, that they've not been able to properly validate your debt. Start low. Offer maybe 25 to 30% of the balance as a settlement. Debt buyers will settle for much less than the full amount. And with LVNV, you can request a pay for delete. I think they actually have it on their website. Go to the FAQ section of their website. I normally would say make sure to get it in writing that in exchange for you paying the agreed amount on the account, they will remove the account from your credit report. Without this, the account could remain on your report even after payment. But as mentioned, if a debt buyer has the pay for delete agreement on their website, I say snip a copy of that so that you have that as your agreement, as your proof. Get everything in writing. So get as much as you can in writing. I don't recommend paying based on a verbal agreement. Insist on written confirmation of a settlement before making any payment. You want the terms and everything in writing. Time is of the essence when you deal with a debt buyer like LVNV Funding, because they do tend to file lawsuits. But just remember, just because LVNV claims you owe it doesn't mean you owe them, especially if they don't own your debt. You've got the power to challenge them and win. If this video helped you, hit the like button and subscribe for more tips on fighting debt collectors, fixing your credit, and achieving financial freedom. Drop any questions you have in comments. I'd love to see how I can help. Let's work together to help you get your financial future back on track.